is way overdue, well deserved, and now next I want to see Owen Hart get inducted, which we know is never going to be the case, which is a damn shame unless they induct the Hart Foundation, and even then they may not. But that's a battle for another day. I just want to be happy that she's getting in. And congratulations to all the rest of the members of DX. Michael's the second time, Triple H's first induction one way or another, and the Outlaws, and so definitely well deserved. And now comes the rumored inductions, and one of them I read. I don't remember the second name that they had on this article. I don't even know where it is anymore. But the other name was Taz, which would on his WWE merits alone, would you put him in as a Hall of Famer? The answer is no. If you think about what he did for ECW and what he did for pro wrestling as a whole, he definitely has Hall of Fame credentials. ECW World Champion. He was the big draw for ECW for pretty much the entire time that he was given that big main spot. Obviously, you think of memorable moments, him debuting in the WWE in Madison Square Garden against Kurt Angle, who's also a Hall of Famer, and his matches with Bam Bam Bigelow in ECW, another guy who should be in the Hall of Fame, and it would be perfect because Bam Bam was from Jersey, and where is WrestleMania being held this year? In New Jersey, not New York City. Sorry, everybody. It's at MetLife Stadium in East Rutherford, New Jersey, not down at the section of 58th and 9th in New York City. Get the hell out of here. And yet the Hall of Fame is taking place in Brooklyn, in Taz's hometown, the Red Hook section of Brooklyn, New York. I always remember being such a big Taz fan because me, as somebody who's 5'6", I was always shorter, in school. I looked at Taz as, well, this dude's a badass, and yet he's manhandling people twice his size, because that's just who he is. So for somebody like me, and I'm sure for others out there who have been influenced by him since, he had the Team Taz dojo going on for a little while there too. I'm sure he was influencing many others to pretty much emulate or to do what he did. So you look at a guy like Michael Elgin now, who, that's pretty much a mirror image this day and age of what Taz was. He wears a singlet like Taz does. He's not necessarily the tallest talent, but he's big. He's a badass, and he'll definitely mess you up too. And again, just based on influence and contributions to wrestling, ECW-wise, and even WWE, but I also remember him very fondly as a broadcaster. Him and Michael Cole back in the day when Cole was really kind of being allowed to do his own thing in a way. I really enjoyed him a lot more in some instances than Jim Ross and King at that point, because now you're kind of moving in a new direction of like the main commentary team, Taz and Cole. They worked very well together, and Taz, it was that that Ruthless Aggression era's King and JR, because you had Taz, the former wrestler, as King was. That was his role on camera for the broadcasting, and and Michael Cole being the play-by-play pretty much. And say what you want about Cole, but he's been at it in WWE now for over 20 years. And he's obviously doing something right if he, if he's been on that long and he's been trusted with the backstage responsibilities that he has, and obviously staying on the flagship show of Monday Night Raw. So I hope they confirm it soon. I don't know if they have or haven't, but if they do with Taz, that would be a great addition. Though even though they're in Brooklyn, where Taz is from, at the Barclays, I think he would have, and I think other talents would have enjoyed it just as much, if not more, if the induction was again at Madison Square Garden, like it was around WrestleMania 29. So, but that notwithstanding, it'll be interesting to see who they induct this year into the Hall of Fame. And it's fun, the longer that they go on with this year in and year out, you're kind of like, it's like you're running out of names, or names that whether they will not get in due to one reason or another backstage, but or one way or another otherwise, it does make for interesting conversation. But you got guys like the Godfather who's gone in, and Jeff Jarrett, which we'll mention Jeff Jarrett a little bit later. Who are you going to start inducting now? Undertaker should be going in soon, if not, obviously not this year since DX is the headliner. Definitely, hopefully next year, since it seems like his in-ring wrestling career is over. Jericho, he's with AEW now, but once he's done, maybe he'll get in. I don't know, but we'll see about that. Again, it'll be interesting to see what winds up happening going forward with this year's Hall of Fame, especially being in New Jersey, WrestleMania this year, the Hall of Fame in Brooklyn. We'll see where it goes. We'll definitely see where it goes. Let me just take a break here, and then we'll talk a couple more things real quick, and maybe we'll wrap up here for the day. So hang tight. All right, welcome back to Open Mic Wrestling Night here on Twitch live, and if you're not listening live, you are listening by way of Fill in the Void Podcast Network, by way of iHeartRadio, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and wherever you find your favorite podcasts out there. So, again, that was Sadie Gibbs versus Lana Austin. Thank you, Sadie, for granting me permission to air the match here on the show. Big shout-outs to her. And let's get into the shakeup within WWE. It's the shakeup before the shakeup, basically. You get 3 confirmed releases now by WWE.com, or WWE Socials, I guess is the best way to describe it now. You have TJP, which is no surprise either. You have Hideo Itami, who already had asked for his release, and now obviously it's been granted. And Ty Dillinger, who has asked for their release, and that too has obviously been granted. None of these really should come as a surprise. Honestly, I feel that they should be doing more of these purges of talent, if you will, because, you're signing a lot of these talents just for the sake of having them. And, I get it. You have the money. If you're the WWE, I get it. But at the same time, if you had just saved your money by using the guys that you actually have on the payroll in one way or another, then yeah, there wouldn't be the frustration amongst the talents that actually want to be on the air, like a Mike Kanellis, like a Zack Ryder, like a Kurt Hawkins, WWE has basically turned into WCW. You're signing the talents just for the sake of having them so that nobody else can have them. And a lot of these times, some of them just get let go anyway. I mean, you look at Kimberly, signed to NXT, used a handful of times, and eventually was let go. You look at Sami Callihan, who was under the name of Solomon Crow. He was signed. I think he was only used on TV 2-3 times, something like that. Then they were let go. So a lot of these talents, while a lot of them are like, they're signing on the principle of, oh, now you're on WWE TV, and now or you're a WWE contracted wrestler, and now you're just receiving your paychecks. For me, that would be a little annoying. I mean, I'm signed to work for you, and I'm not really working. Sure, I'm getting paid to just work out and travel and go to these shows just in case you need me and whatnot, but now you got you look at the landscape of wrestling. You got to think of it this way. This current generation of pro wrestling fan never experienced the other companies like Mid-South Wrestling, like Memphis, like Florida Championship Wrestling, like ECW, like WCW. They didn't experience the Monday Night War when you had options. So everyone knows WWE. If you're a casual fan or you just got brought up with WWE, that's all they know. They don't know the other competition on a big level. AEW might take care of that soon and have other talent, other competition for it and options for wrestlers to go to. Tony Khan basically had said that we're not going to sign wrestlers just for the sake of having them. If we don't have a plan, or we don't think we're going to have a plan, then we're not going to sign you. I'm sure it'll happen eventually, but for right now, for the first year of shows, obviously they're just going to sign the limited amount of people just to use them, to have them. The over the budget battle royal is probably just going to be a bunch of one-time deals, maybe. That would be my best guess. But then again, you never know. So if anything, these releases, it's like, instead of being like, oh, that's a shame, because again, you got to figure back in the day when these talents would be let go, when it was famous for like a couple of days or a day where like a dozen people would be let go, between wrestlers, referees, everything else of the like. You had TNA, but who knows how much they were paying. You had TNA, but other than TNA, you really had no other option to go to, right? Now, and you really couldn't make an extraordinary amount of money off the independents that you could live off of, right? So now, the way that things are set up in the landscape of pro wrestling right now, yeah, you can make a living off of wrestling on the independents, especially if you have a name or WWE TV exposure. Now you really can. I mean, you look at other guys. I mean, Cody's example aside, Juice Robinson, and just a bunch of other people who have been able to do it. If they, so. It's not the end all be all. If you're let go from WWE, I mean, some people might take it a certain way, but realistically, it's not as big of a deal as it once used to be. Now you have options. Now Impact is coming back as a force in wrestling. Ring of Honor will be opening up their pocketbooks for talents. I mean, on Twitter, I had seen someone saying, I would prefer to see Ty Dillinger in Ring of Honor, and I actually tend to agree.